where does this framework start? Where's the kind of starting point, the foundation we need to build?
Yeah, well, what we were just talking about, it is rapport. It is just connecting with people at the human level. People like to work with, people like to buy from, people like to follow people that they like. And you don't have to have the same hobby. I mean, you and I have, we
almost
have
nothing in common.
We have almost nothing in
and
common.
We love each other.
And yet we love each other. We couldn't be more different. But we know each other well enough to know that we're on the same mission. We care about what we're doing. We know, each other. We sit down out there at lunch, we listen, ask what's going on in the other person's life. Just basic, emotional intelligence and caring about people, and not trying to do too much too fast. That will cause you to stub your toe.
Yeah, how do you not force this idea of rapport? Because it can be a little tricky. It's a fancy word. What does that look like to do it naturally?
Well, there are a lot of different ways that that this gets built, but I would say the number one thing is just listening, just asking other people, what's going on in their world, and then just shutting up. It's the old thing about we've got 2 ears and 1 mouth. And as hard as it might be the one that asks, how was your weekend? What's going on? What are you working on first? And then just listen. And people will think that you love them and you're great just by asking them how they're doing and listening to them.
So be interested, be curious, and don't always be thinking, well, what can I interject here?
Yeah.
Just genuinely listen to them.
Yeah, and that's hard especially for guys like us that have got a lot to say. We've got a lot of thoughts.
Yeah, that's so true. Okay, so we're starting to build some rapport by caring, we're listening, we're engaging with the team. What is the next step in this process?
The next thing is you got to have credibility with your team. And that is as difficult and as simple as actually doing what you say you're going to do. If you say, hey, we have work-life balance here, and then when somebody comes to you and says, hey, my kid's sick, or, I've got to take my French bulldog to the vet, if you don't give them space to do that, if you don't actually do what you've said you were going to do, then you've got no credibility with them. And so how can they really invest in you or follow you if the audio and the video don't match up?
So this really comes down to integrity and consistency.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely.
That's big.
And can I add one more thing?
Please.
It becomes really, really valuable when it's crunch time. When it's easy, that's one thing. But when it gets difficult, when we get to the end of the month, when we get to the end of the fiscal year, and you've made commitments to the team, but you as the leader start to feel pressure, if you just push that pressure down onto the team and start to violate some of those commitments that you've made to them, you're going to lose credibility.
So this is something that is earned over time and can be broken pretty easily.
Yeah, that's the bad news is it takes a lot of, it's like a tree. It takes a long time for a big tree to grow, but you can cut it down with a chainsaw overnight. Mm-hmm. And so you got to make a lot of little deposits to build your credibility. And then you've got to be really careful not to ruin it pretty quickly.
Yeah. And you're leading a lot of our coaches. What does that look like for you to have gained that credibility over time? What are some of the steps you took?
Well, I'm a work in progress. So, I know the coaches listen to the podcast. I just want to own that fact right
I'm
up.
perfect. Yeah.
Right up front. But, one of the biggest things is following through, doing what you say. Hey, I'll take that action item. Hey, I'll go advocate for that. I'll go see if that's possible. It's just doing those things. That's, we're still just in step 2 of this process, but it's foundational. You've got to do what you say you're going to do.
Yeah, and over time, they kind of have to see you be really, really consistent to where they kind of know exactly how you would think, what you would say in any given situation. And if you're all over the place, they're going to have no clue.
Yeah, they're going to have no clue, and then they're going to feel like, any moment the rug could get jerked out from underneath them. They don't know what's going to set you off, and that's just not a safe environment to work in. And so you're absolutely right.
You want to be predictable in a sense.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
I know it's not exciting in a dating relationship or something to be too boring or routine, but at work it's good to be predictable.
Yeah. I mean, it just comes down to stability. Everyone wants to know where they stand with the leader and how to operate in that environment.
You might be one of the few things in their life that is predictable. Over the last several years, things have been so crazy. Creating a safe, predictable environment and person for them to relate to is super valuable.
Yeah. So we're building all of this over time. This is not an overnight process. This
Right.
could take months. This could take years in some cases to get to different levels.
Yeah.
But you're starting to build the rapport, build the credibility. What is the next step towards influence?
Yeah, so the next step is, and this is pretty nuanced, George. We talk about this a lot. It's trust, and we differentiate trust from credibility because credibility is just doing what you say you're going to do, and that's good. But trust is really something more than that. It's people knowing that you're going to make decisions with their best interest in mind. It's being able to trust you with my future. It's the ability to come on here on the podcast and know that you're gonna make it fun, make it easy, and I just trust you. I'm not worried about what it's gonna be like because I know you. I know who you are. You haven't made those promises to me. We walked in here and we're just doing this. It's the same with the leader. It's one thing to say, I am gonna make sure you get paid on Friday, and you get paid on Friday. Well, that's good. That's great. That's credibility. But that's pretty fundamental. When trust starts to get built is saying, hey, I'm gonna advocate for you as a team. I'm gonna make decisions on the team's behalf when the team doesn't even know it necessarily. Like let's say an example is putting together an HR package. Well, you and I both know that our company spends a lot of time shopping those things, working on them, and it's a total nightmare, and neither one of us want any part of all of that. We're very thankful for the people who do that. But we trust those people because even though they haven't communicated all these promises to us about it, we just know their character, we trust them, and that they have our best interest at heart when they're out there making decisions on our behalf.
Yeah, and it feels like it's a two-way street.
Absolutely.
If you can't trust your team, there's no way they're going to have trust in you.
That's right. Yep, 100%. And again, this is not something that is done in some big grand gesture. It is day in and day out deposits that you got to make.
Yeah. So what does it look like when you don't have trust with your team? What is the environment if you walked into a room and there was not a lot of trust going on?
Yeah, so that I just had a little shiver. That's a bad situation.
Have you been there?
I've been there. Of course, I've been there, and I've done things that have damaged trust. That's as a leader, that is something that you've got to be on guard for all of the time. But what's it look like? To answer your question, it looks like people defending themselves. It looks like people not feeling safe enough to call out problems. It looks like people, we would say, alligator arming issues. Oh, here, let me get the check. Oh, sorry, I can't reach it. It's people not showing up fully to the mission that you're on, and ultimately, it's people. Customers not getting served, and you not fulfilling the vision that you have for your business.
Yeah, it feels like that's a great way to build a toxic culture very quickly.
Yep, absolutely.
And there's also a piece of this where if there's not trust, and like you talked about, people are trying to cover their butts. They're not being vulnerable. They're brushing a lot of things under the rug. It's kind of this, everything's fine, I got it taken care of, and you're being very kind of fake nice to everyone because you're trying to protect yourself.
Yeah, that's right.
That's a very different way to operate than how we do here at Ramsey.
And the other thing is you know what? It's not fun. It's not fun to go to a place every day and live in that environment. And so, gosh, we spend a lot of time here, George, and it's got to be fun. Needs to be fun.
You can't walk around with your fists up ready to fight
Right.
someone at any given moment.
Yeah, that'll just wear you out.
So, rapport, credibility, trust. How do you know when you've kind of reached that point where you go, all right, this is working. The team trusts me.
Yeah. Well, here's the bad news. It's rented. It's not owned. And so I don't want anybody, and I don't ever want myself to rest on my laurels and think, hey, I've built trust, I've got this, and I can go do whatever. We've arrived. It's rented every single day. You got to pay the rent and show up and be trustworthy every single day. But when people start to share with you things that you haven't asked them to share, when people start to push back and debate ideas, and when you see people take responsibility for things that aren't necessarily in their job description or in their KRA, as we talk about, their key results area, you know that your team is trusting each other and that you have built trust with the team, and that you as a leader, and I guess this is probably the key thing, is that you have built an environment of trust, because it's not all about just the team's relationship with you. It's the team's relationship with each other, and that you've built this space and in this environment where trust is at a high level.